Well, hello, folks. This is a hi from Joe.
Hey everybody, good morning.
Thank you for joining us again, even in the live session, or for those that look at it at the replay. We first do a little bit of house chores, I call it here. For those of us who look at us or view us, share with us through YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. You have to be signed in. And I say that with YouTube in particular because if you want to leave a comment, you have to really be signed in. And I hope you do leave comments because Lizzy claims she's a holistic coach and consultant. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm still working at this stuff,
Mhm.
folks. And her position is that people who think positive begin to feel positive, therefore begin to do positive. Assuming I get that correct. If I get it wrong, I'm still on my learning curve. I'm a left brain kind of guy. It makes no sense to me at all that if I say yin and yang, it's going to make my life better. I got to do it. I got to make it happen. But anyway, she feels strong. She's tenacious. She's got a strong reputation, and she truly believes she's going to bring me on board with her way of, I won't even say thinking of feeling, I guess is the phrase of it. So that being said, we're here for see how this goes, and please sign up because we need whatever help you can provide me on this issue. The topic today, and what I'm doing all no, we don't rehearse, we don't pre-record anything. This is all live, so if we make any hiccups as part of our process as being together. But what Lizzy does do nicely for me, she provides topics, and she's done several things, topics of different authors. But I have asked to focus more on her topics, her statements, her sayings. They really do intrigue me aside from confusing me. So this is going to be a Lizzy topic or theme concept. And I'm going to show it on screen now. And it says that actually she indicates that she's a recovering people pleaser. And I did find that comment intriguing. And I'm going to share with you what comes to mind in terms of the bigger world out there. I would think it wouldn't be natural to want to be liked by everybody, to be accepted, to be a part of the in crowd. Because now I've got my identification, I've got my ID, I've got my pizzazz, because I'm a part of whatever this is all about. Isn't that a natural flow for people?
Absolutely. No, we are definitely meant to be a part of a tribe. We are kind of tribe, come from tribal roots.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, sense of belonging. I think everybody has a need for a connection. That's a kind of a basic need that definitely needs to be met. But it's very different. It's very different than being a people pleaser.
Well, but if I'm going to be part of the crowd, don't I have to do what those people want me to be a part of that group? That's kind of my thinking.
Hmm. Well, that used to be my thinking also for many years, for many years that I had to do what was cool, what was with the in crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and it serves you until it doesn't serve you anymore, until you feel like you're doing things that you don't want to be doing and saying yes to things that you really want to be saying no to. And I think for a long time I felt like I couldn't say no to things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where when I learned to say no as a complete sentence, it was so liberating, and it didn't keep me out of the crowd. It did not. It gave me agency over when I wanted to exit the crowd, when I wanted to come, and then I could show up, with the energy that I wanted to show up with, which
Well,
is
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. What comes to mind used to be back in I was a young adult, and I was summer break. Had a job working for an insurance company, and as a part timer, and the supervisor comes up to me and says, "Joe, would you be willing to whatever the job assignment was?" Now I had a choice. I could be a people pleaser. Sure, boss, I'd be happy to. But I thought I'd test my limits. I says, nope, I really wouldn't want to do that. And he paused in shock for about 3 or 4 seconds before he says, let me rephrase it. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you that's what you're going to do. Say, hey, I just thought I'd check to see how it works out. But doesn't one run the risk of adverse reaction? I can't believe it's as easy as it sounds. I'm going to ask you about that in a little bit later, the processing of it. But to be a non-people pleaser, don't you run the risk of being rejected and booted out and tossed kind of thing?
Yeah, I think yes, definitely. If you're in a work relationship where there's a hierarchy and you have a boss who's telling you to do something, that's part of your job, perhaps.
Yeah, well, my wife does that to me all the time, by the way. So it's not just the job at the building. So we'll come back to that in another talk session, maybe. But.
Yes. I think again, I think it is very different. I think in what it is with your relationships. I mean, and I think about when I saw that, I think about I when I went into recovery, when I started to go into recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I think about when I was in social work school, and I used to, I was in internships and very busy days, talking all day,
Mm-hmm.
and being the extroverted introvert that I've talked about. I would come home and I had to spend 1 hour in my room without my roommates. I had 3 roommates, and they just knew. I came in, I went into my room, and
Mm-hmm.
1 hour later I would come out. And I did that when I moved in with Amy, my husband, when I was
Mm-hmm.
working as a social worker. So I started to put into place kind of my needs then, but since then it's gotten much stronger, where I'm able to just I'm able to say no. No, I'm not going to do that, and without an explanation. I don't need to explain why. I just say, I'm not able to do that, and it's been liberating.
I hear the concept there, but I would think it would be a challenge. When I think of recovering people pleaser, I think of a recovering alcoholic, a recovering addict, and they're kind of the same if it's a drug addict as opposed to other types of of addiction. And so I'm always wondering, does one get zapped by lightning? Does one have a catastrophic experience? Does one just have this wondrous insight that evolves over them over a period of time? How does that work?
I mean, I think as far as any addiction, I think it's like, people stop doing substances or things that no longer start serving them. It starts to not have the effect of what they think, like you were saying, that effect of feeling that sense of belonging, the effect of avoiding rejection. It doesn't. It starts to not work anymore. So you start to just feel like, wait a minute, like this thing that I thought was something that was I needed actually is having the reverse effect. So I'm going to try to a different approach.
But I hear what you're saying, but I'm still doubting this heavily. I would think, to me, it would be, well, that's the price of belonging to the crowd. Maybe I don't want to hang out for another half an hour, but geez, if I don't hang out with the crowd another half an hour on a school night, have an exam coming up tomorrow I have to study for, then I'm having fun with this group. I'm a part of parties that I wouldn't normally be a part of, that people looking at me in a more respectful manner. You belong to that group? Wow, you must be hot. So, I got to make compromises, but it's worth it. Isn't that my thinking of any addict of sorts, I would think?
Again, I think it's compromises, yes, but like, for example, if there's a party and I want to go, but I know that I have an exam the next morning, like I might just go either early and leave early, or go late and just stay for a little while. Like I will put those things now into place that I know are going to end up with the outcome that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And rather that, because I realize that doesn't last isn't sustainable. I did that in college and stayed out very late. And
I can't stay up past 9 o'clock in the evenings, and I'm not a people pleaser by any stretch. So that one I get intuitively. But I have a question for you, though. I think of an example. When does it become an issue? Let me say this, or ask this differently: that one begins to decide that to self-please is more important to people please, or to people please is more defeating. You kind of alluded to that concept. Mm-hmm. But is there a trigger? Again, when does it no longer become compromise reasonable to dysfunction? How does one make that distinction in their lives?
I think that when you start to tune in more to how you're feeling, and you start to feel maybe resentful of having to do this, that, or the other, and it's not, I mean, some things we do out of just, because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But when it's something that we really can decide yes or no, we're doing it out of, feeling that we have to, because we want to please that person, we want them to like us, but then we resent them for it,
right?
And we start to get mad at ourselves for choosing that decision. That's when I think it becomes more evident that, like, wait a minute,
Mm.
This is not.
You made an interesting point that you made the comment about I have to. Is part of the self awareness is a transition between I have to I choose to.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Or
Mm-hmm.
I choose to. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to look at things. A lot of the things that we don't really necessarily want to do, but we choose to because they're in the best interest of really, just out of love for the people, out of love for our family, out of the fact that we want a clean house, or
Mm.
all the things that we choose to do.
So we say anyway. I get that one.
Yes.
Well, you made another comment which I kind of missed on, but it just came back to me that I guess you've implied part of your motivational factor or insightful transition
Mhm.
is you were feeling less well about yourself pleasing than you felt about yourself being your own person. Am I saying that correctly, or am I asking that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. And I think again that comes with maturity. I think for some of us, that comes with awareness. It comes with a lot of therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and in addition to all the other work that I've done on myself of just self development, I think is how I came to really decide that I want to have agency over my life and over
Mm-hmm.
my emotions and over what I choose to do,
Right.
choose not to do.
I would think also, and I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to make the statement for the ask first. That's, I guess, a double ask. I see what you're saying, and it kind of addresses my question. But at some point, people who've maybe spent a good portion of their lives being brought up, and let me say this differently: people pleaser, crowd pleaser, what other people want of you. I was in line once with bank line eons ago. And a mom in maybe her late 30s and her daughter was maybe 13ish. The daughter wanted to show mommy while they're waiting in lines in front of me, hey, I want you to look at my report card. It's like late June. And mother was blowing, not paying attention, smoking the cigarette. And because the daughter insisted, maybe the third or fourth time, the mother asked her, why? And the daughter says, probably because I got straight A's and I want to share that with you. And the mother kind of turned away and looked off in the distance and says, it won't really matter because you'll never get to go to college. You'll end up having babies as a woman. And so that to me is, I think it's a strong version. And it's not a matter of people pleasing. Maybe it's a resignation of sorts. And that may be not quite on topic. But the question I'm going to ask is for people who've been brought up in an environment to please, to please, to please, and may not have enough awareness yet, self-awareness to say, hey, Lizzy, I need your help. I'd like to sign up to your program. What might you say is a stimulant for people who've not quite yet made that awareness but might be watching this program and say, hey, maybe this might apply to me also? Some little micro step that one might take conceptually?
Again, it's tricky because I first of all, I feel for the daughter in that line. I mean, I feel for her because she's just, wanting to be noticed and feels like she needs to be the only way she'll be noticed is if she has straight A's, and then her mother doesn't even give her that. And her,
Yeah. So
you
that's
know,
more like society pleaser rather than people pleasers. It's kind of indigenous to her life. So for people who are in this, who may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, would you have an advice for those who've not yet considered that they too may have that option in their lives? That's something you might give as a catalyst of concept.
I mean, yeah, I would say, first of all, you have to do what you have to do, and, to feed your family and those types of things. If you have to do whatever job, whatever, you got to do those things until
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do something else. But the things that you're able to have some control over, whatever you do are able to have control over, just exercise that control over those things that you can. And,
It would be something like if somebody would say to themselves or ask themselves, if I could live my life over again, would I do it differently? Would it take that kind of internal question in terms of making a better life for
I
me?
think no. I think just wherever you are in your life, you can make it better. You can make the next day better. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. You don't have to go back to relive your whole life again. You could every day. You can wake up and say, I'm going to choose to, have a different attitude. I'm going to choose my attitude for today, and I'm going to choose to be someone who, has self respect.
Mm-hmm.
and whatever that means to you at that moment, and then just see what that brings, you know, and then again, just choose to try to surround yourself as much as you can with people who are going to lift you and not knock you down, you know, as most best that you can. The ones,
Mm-hmm.
like even at your job, you know, find the people that are actually the ones who see things a little bit in a more positive light than, you know, than the ones who are just constantly, you know, just everything is miserable.
I, I hear you. Well, folks, we said this is 15 minutes, and I'm shocked by how time goes fast. We're working hard not to make this a 2.5 hour program. So, anyway, Lizzy, I thank you very much for what you're saying. Any sound bites that?
I would just say, you know, that pleasing yourself first is not selfish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really self care, and and we need to be able to first please ourselves, and then, you know, that then we're able to like put the oxygen mask on others. So it's not, you're not being selfish by saying no.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. On behalf of myself and Lizzy, have a good day. And please, for those who are looking at this on the replay side, we do audit statements and comments. Please share your questions not only with us, but also with people you feel might enjoy or benefit from my confusion. So
Yeah.
long, folks.
Join me in recovery, please.
Sounds good. We're going to
So
end it.
everybody.